Why Watch That is a podcast featuring the critic
and referee who go head-to-head on a quest to discover the best movies
and TV shows Hollywood has to offer. Expect the unexpected from the critic.
Well, nothing gets past the ref.
We do all the work,
so you don't have to. Welcome to Why Watch That. Well, listeners, it's time for our annual awards reaction that I know you all listen. You just look forward to it every single year. We've been doing this for how long? Like 6 years? Is this our sixth award season? Oh my gosh, I think it is because we started in December of 2013.
Yeah.
And I could be lying about that, but...
It's 5 years. It's 5 years.
5 years. Okay, I'm sorry. 5 years. And so this is our fifth round. And we're going to start off the season by giving our reactions to the Golden Globes, which as of taping just happened, literally. So 2019 is already coming off in a grand way, and we definitely have seen some surprises tonight. I actually watched the Globes from top to bottom. I know you watched like 90 or 98% of the Globes as well. And this year we had a very unconventional pairing, I'm going to say, of hosts. I would have never in a million years paired these two together. And to me, quite frankly and honestly, no hate or shade, I think it's better if both hosts are comedians.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Look, I agree. Can I just say Maya Rudolph?
Oh my gosh.
Please make her host something. I don't know that she wants to do it.
Oh, give her
But if she's interested, all you people out there, Oscars.
Yes.
Maya Rudolph by herself.
By herself or with Amy Poehler. I liked that pairing. You know what? Who'd be a great host? I would like to see it happen. Melissa McCarthy. Like, why not tap into real? No shade to Sandra Oh. Some of the stuff didn't land, and you could tell in the audience it was kind of like, and he's just a very specific kind of comedian.
Yeah, sometimes like for that opening, it wasn't clear that we were going into seriousness.
Right.
It's just stuff like that where, as somebody who is an MC or stand-up, they understand how to do those kinds of things. Yeah. Then an actor, actors, we're not used to doing that kind of stuff. Whatever.
Exactly. So, but other than that, I felt like this year, for the first time in a long time, that the awards moved along. Like there wasn't a lot of, I do like the Golden Globes in a sense. And again, I do like the technical awards. Those are important awards, but I sure like it when we could just move it right along and get to, why we've all come. So let's get started on our reactions to some of the biggest of the night, I would definitely say. And let's start from the bottom. If we can scroll all the way down, we're going to start from the bottom and start with the best performance by an actress in a supporting role in a series, limited series, or motion picture made for television. This year, this group of actresses, I don't know if I'd want to be put them all on the screen together. I think it would melt and blow up. Oh my goodness. We have Alex Bornstein for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, who is a favorite. She's won Emmys in the past. She's back again. Patricia Clarkson for Sharp Objects. We have Penelope Cruz for the assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story. And we're just going to hear on out call it the assassination.
Yes.
And Thandie Newton for Westworld, and Yvonne Stravotsky for The Handmaid's Tale. And this year, the winner goes to Patricia Clarkson. Yes. Listen, you saw this from top to bottom, and she's no mother you're going to want to have in your life. I hear.
Absolutely not. And, Patricia Clarkson is always good. All the performances here are worthy. Great.
Couldn't lose. You couldn't lose. What's next?
Next is Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role in a Series, Limited Series, or Motion Picture Made for TV. Nominees: Alan Arkin for The Kominsky Method. Mm-hmm. Kieran Culkin for The Assassination. Okay. And then we also have Ben Whishaw for A Very English Scandal and Henry Winkler for Barry. Winner is Ben Whishaw. I saw all of this stuff, and it just makes sense because of what Ben had to do. And Ben is such a quirky, specific actor and is always, always interesting and good. So congrats to him.
He totally made a huge impact on me in the movie that we saw years ago called Perfume.
Yes.
I just will never forget him, ever. Best performance by an actress in a limited series or motion picture made for television. This is a big category. We've got Amy Adams in Sharp Objects. Ugh, this is not joyful watching, I will say that. Patricia Arquette, Escape from Denimora. Connie Britton, Dirty John. Yeah. Laura Dern, The Tale. Regina King, that's one of the 2 times she's been nominated tonight, for 7 Seconds. And the winner goes to Patricia Arquette in her role as a woman who helps 2 convicts escape. And it's based on a true story. This was developed and directed by Ben Stiller, yes. The comedian Ben Stiller, starring Paul Dano, which, I never want to be in a dark alley with him. I'm sure he's a kind and sweet person, but he always plays creepy guys. And Benicio Toro, who she thanked in her speech. Specifically, Patricia Arquette really was very, very speaking highly of Ben Stiller, who's apparently very kind to actors as they're acting. So
yeah, and this is no surprise. It really is no surprise. Congrats to Patricia. And now we move to Best Performance by an Actor in a Limited Series or Motion Picture Made for TV. We have Antonio Banderas for Genius Picasso. We have Daniel Bruhl for The Alienist. Yeah. Darren Criss for The Assassination. Benedict Cumberbatch for Patrick Melrose. And Hugh Grant for A Very English Scandal. This is another strong category, especially Darren, Benedict, and Hugh. And the winner is Darren Criss for The Assassination. I'm not surprised.
You know what? I remember you talking about this a while back, and you really were you were giving him rave reviews that it was really his show, just because we didn't get enough of everyone. So
yeah, the show, him, yes.
Yeah. Now, guess what? We're going to go on over to the Best Limited Series or Motion Picture Made for Television. We've got The Alienist, again, not a watch. You were just going to sit down on your couch and pop your popcorn in your mouth. The Assassination, Dirty John, Escaped at Denimora, Sharp Objects, and A Very English Scandal. And the winner goes to The Assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story. So much happening in that title. Listen, Ryan Murphy, if he touches it, I guarantee you he will be nominated and most likely he will win. What did you think about this?
I don't agree.
What would you have gone with?
I think Escape at Denimora is better. I think Sharp Objects was better. I think A Very English Scandal was also better. To me, it would come down to Escape or Scandal, for short. But again, Darren Criss did his job. As you hinted before, and as I said in my review of this show for The Assassination, I wanted more Penelope.
Yes, of
more
course.
Edgar. More Ricky Martin. Okay. We didn't get that. But I so congratulate them. It's not that these people don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they do.
Now, next is Best Performance by an Actress in a TV Series, Musical or Comedy. Now, remember, everybody, at the Golden Globes, they separate drama from musical or comedy. Mm-hmm. So in this category is Kristen Bell for The Good Place. We have Candice Bergen for Murphy Brown. Now, I have to say...
That is a surprise nomination, I would say.
Love Candice, but Alison Brie for Glow, Rachel Brosnahan for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Deborah Messing for Will and Grace. The winner is Rachel Brosnahan. Is anyone shocked? No.
I mean, really no surprise here. Every time she's nominated, she's swept, and rightfully so. With what she has to do. Best performance by actor. Let's go to the actor category for the same music or comedy. We've got Sacha Baron Cohen, Who is America? Jim Carrey is nominated tonight for Kidding, and there was a cute little bit that the hosts did. They were teasing that there is a television section where he could eat, but unfortunately he was in the movie section, so he needed to get out. And he graciously played along. Michael Douglas for The Kreminsky Method, Donald Glover for Atlanta, and Bill Hader for Barry. Now, I will have to say, hands down, this was one of the categories, the winner absolutely shocked and surprised me. It went to Michael Douglas. Yes, for a comedy. Yes. For a show that many people probably didn't know about, for The Kreminsky Method. And again, he was starring opposite of Alan Arkin. I honestly didn't finish the whole thing, and maybe it just got better and better. But in it, Michael Douglas was very good, I will have to say. He was good.
That show, we talked about this, Ref. This show, they do their jobs.
Yes.
Okay? They do their jobs. Would I have given it to Michael Douglas out of this category? Probably not, but I can't be upset. Look, Michael Douglas deserves whatever he gets.
Yeah.
Now, best TV series, musical or comedy.
Uh-oh.
We have Barry. We have The Good Place. We have Kidding, The Kreminsky Method, and The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And this is a shock.
Yeah, it is. I think everyone gasped a little bit.
The Kreminsky Method wins over The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
Yeah. Wow.
I think we should just move on. I mean, okay.
The best, no shade. We're starting to
no shade.
But I think Michael Douglas, I think absolutely the showrunner was like, oh, okay.
But look, this is the HFPA, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. They're going to do whatever they want to do.
That's right. Best performance by actor in a TV series drama. Now, this category is very loaded. We've got Jason Bateman for Ozark. We've got Stephan James for Homecoming. Richard Madden for Bodyguard. Billy Porter for Pose.
Yeah.
And Matthew Rhys for The Americans. Now, we know Matthew took it home for the Emmys.
Mm-hmm.
This time, Richard Madden came in is the winner for Bodyguard, which again, that's on Netflix. He was surprised as well.
Yeah.
But wow, what a loaded category.
Look, love Richard Madden, loved him on Game of Thrones, really liked him in Bodyguard. I'm sorry, Matthew Rhys. I'm sorry.
We'll get to that though.
Come on.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of, right? We have Best Performance by an Actress in a TV Series Drama.
Ooh.
Katrina Balfe for Outlander. Elizabeth Moss for The Handmaid's Tale. Sandra Oh for Killing Eve. Julia Roberts for Homecoming.
Wow.
And Kerry Russell, the great Kerry Russell for The Americans. The winner, Sandra Oh for Killing Eve.
What? She was also surprised.
Yes, and look, Sandra Oh is always wonderful, always great. We love her. Kerry Russell.
We have to pause for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Again, and remind our listeners, this is the final and what they're nominating is the final season of The Americans. And we kind of have to remind ourselves that sometimes that both the Emmys and the Golden Globes can seem a little out of sync. Like, well, what season is this? What are we talking about here? we're talking about the last season and every season for that matter. I believe, this is my true heart's belief, that you know how I feel about Rectify already. So we're not, you listeners know it. But I believe The Americans is one of the top, I will say this, top 5 dramas ever made from top to bottom. And wow. Kerry Russell has been robbed all these years. I'm just going to say that.
I co-sign. Yeah. You get the next category.
Okay, we're going to wrap up the TV category and go with the best TV series drama. This is a very coveted award. We've got The Americans, which was on FX. Bodyguard on Netflix. Homecoming on Amazon Prime. Killing Eve. Sorry, my phone is blowing up. Killing Eve, which was on what?
BBC America.
BBC America, that's right. And Pose, also on FX. And the winner, as we were just talking about, goes to The Americans. Finally! Wake up! Wake up, world! The Americans takes it home tonight, and I'm going to say well-deserved.
Absolutely. So now we can move forward to the film categories. Wow. Let's roll through this one quickly. Best Animated Film. Incredibles 2. Isle of Dogs. Mirai. Ralph Breaks the Internet. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is the winner.
Yeah.
Great.
I saw it. It was wonderful. Very enjoyable experience. I give it a hands down win. Yes.
Yes.
Best Motion Picture Foreign Language. Capernaum, Girl, Never Look Away, Roma, and Shoplifters. Now, Roma takes it tonight.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more of Roma coming up in these other awards, but it takes it home.
That's right. And if you're wondering why wasn't this nominated in the drama category, it's because it's a foreign film. That's not how they do it for the Golden Globes. I want to say Roma has my brain, Shoplifters has my heart. But anyway.
Yeah.
Next is Best Screenplay in a Motion Picture. Barry Jenkins is nominated for If Beale Street Could Talk. Adam McKay for Vice. Alfonso Cuarón for Roma. Yeah, Deborah Davis and Tony McNamara for The Favorite, whoa, and Peter Farrelly, Nick Vallelonga, and Brian Curry for Green Book, and they won for Green Book. Oh my goodness, and we won't get into it here, but there's all kinds of things going on behind the scenes. Controversy for this film. The HFPA said, so what?
As they usually do. And I will have to say that hearing the acceptance speech of the son of the man who it's based on was very heartfelt. So Best Original Song in a Motion Picture. All the Stars for Black Panther. Girls in the Movies, Dumpling. Requiem for a Private War. Revelation, Boy Erased. Shallow, A Star Is Born takes it. And to me, I'm sorry, deservedly so. Well, no, I'm not sorry. I love that song. Perfect for the movie. Well done, Gaga and team.
Oh, that was obvious.
Well, people were, going for all the stars.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell them. That was obvious. They didn't even need to nominate any other song. And I mean that for the rest of this award season. Yeah. That is the song.
Yes.
Period.
Agreed.
Okay. Best Original Score in a Motion Picture.
My.
Marco Beltrami for A Quiet Place, which I really appreciate the nomination. Alexander Desplat for Isle of Dogs. Ludwig Göransson for Black Panther. Justin Hurwitz for First Man, and Mark Shaman for Mary Poppins Returns. The winner is Justin Hurwitz for First Man. I have to say I'm not surprised. If you watch First Man,
it's
the
very
sound of that, hey.
Yeah. It was wonderful. And this is his, he's worked with the director.
Damien
Chazelle for La La Land. So this is a third win. It's really no surprise for Justin. Well done. Best Supporting Actor in a Motion Picture. Oh my gosh. Mahershala Ali, Green Book. Timothy Chalamet. Oh my gosh. Beautiful Boy. Adam Driver, Black Black Klansman, I still stand to this day say he was in a different movie than everybody else. Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me? And Sam Rockwell for Vice. Mahershala takes it again. Mahershala Ali for Green Book. This was a tough category. Yeah. Really, really tough. I saw Beautiful Boy. That is an extremely powerful performance. I saw Black Klansman. I haven't seen the other one, so it could be anybody's game this award season. So Mahershala takes it first round.
Yeah, and know everybody, for the Golden Globes, for the supporting categories, they don't split drama from comedy musical. So this is a great representation, and this category is tough.
Yeah, it's tough. Strong. Very strong.
But don't mess around with Mahershala, okay?
No.
Everybody have a seat.
Yeah.
Taking us into Best Supporting Actress in a Motion Picture, we have Amy Adams for Vice. We have Claire Foy, yes, the Queen herself, for First Man. We have the great Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk. We have Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz for The Favorite. This is another category, ref, where you go, whoa.
Yeah.
And the winner is Regina King. Oh, yeah.
I feel like every time she wins, she's shocked.
Yeah. It's like,
and
Regina,
I love
hello.
Now, I saw, this is tough.
Tough.
But I will say about her acceptance speech, which was so heartfelt and beautiful, she tagged at the end at the last minute, which got everybody excited, that her production company will now employ 50% women. But, and we're talking about not necessarily below the line, but non-creative. 50%. Right. Now, I've heard people say inclusion rider and things like that, but 50% women specifically, hey, hats off to Regina King.
Yeah, and she did say, look, I know it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. But that's a lot. 50%? Good for her.
You're next.
Oh, me. Best performance by an actor in a motion picture, musical, or comedy. Now, again, we're splitting it up again. Christian Bale for Vice. Lin-Manuel Miranda for Mary Poppins Returns. Whoa. Viggo Mortensen, Green Book. Robert Redford, The Old Man and the Gun. And John C. Reilly for Stan and Ollie. This goes to, in my opinion, no surprise here, Christian Bale, who plays Dick Cheney. Yes, the former vice president, Dick Cheney, in Vice. And I'm sure a lot of you listeners, if you haven't seen the advertisements or the trailer, you're probably wondering, how in the world does Christian Bale play Dick Cheney? And he says in his acceptance speech, he really couldn't have done it without the prosthetics team. And he said he also consulted Satan.
Yes, he did. He thanked Satan.
As to how to play this role.
And he talked about, not having charisma and how that helped him land the role. So it was a very funny acceptance speech.
Yes.
I thought it was a great one for the Golden Globes. I really enjoyed that. And no surprise.
No. I mean, Viggo is probably the one who's going to give him competition. But I think he'll sweep.
Yeah. So now for Best Director, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born. Alfonso Cuarón for Roma. Peter Farrelly for Green Book. Spike Lee for Black Klansman. And Adam McKay for Vice. The winner is Alfonso Cuarón. Let me tell you something. If you're talking about Best Director, it has to be him just because of the technique on display in Roma.
Well, when they said he was not only the director, the writer, the editor, the cinematographer, just the list.
The caterer, yeah.
The caterer. He also did some occasional best boy work. So I don't know. Oh, let's move on to best performance by an actress in a musical or comedy for a motion picture. Emily Blunt for Mary Poppins Returns. It's not a surprise that she'd be nominated. Olivia Colman for The Favorite. Elise Fisher, 8th Grade, Charlize Theron for Tully, and Constance Wu for Crazy Rich Asians, and Olivia Colman, The Favorite, takes it. And I haven't seen it, but I hear she gives quite the performance. And her acceptance speech deserves a nomination and an award for itself on its own.
Olivia Colman takes us to school in The Favorite, okay? Now, best performance by an actor in a motion picture drama. Bradley Cooper again for A Star is Born. He did everything, everybody. Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gate. Lucas Hedges for Boy Erased. Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. And John David Washington for Black Klansman. The winner is Rami Malek. No surprise for me. Okay.
Yeah, this was a very interesting category. I'll have to say that. But, I mean, yes. Not the category, but the nominees. Let's move on to best performance by an actress in a motion picture for drama. Now, this is the coveted award. Glenn Close, The Wife. And you're probably thinking, what? Yes, it was a movie, and you'll have to see it. Lady Gaga, A Star is Born. Nicole Kidman, Destroyer. Melissa McCarthy, Can You Ever Forgive Me? Yes, I did say a drama.
Yep.
And Rosamund Pike for A Private War, and the winner goes to Another Shock of the Evening. Now, this, when she was thoroughly shocked, so shocked that she burst into tears and took forever to get to the stage because she was like, "Are we certain? Are we sure?" It's Glenn Close for The Wife. She takes it home. I haven't seen it, but I've heard her performance is absolutely amazing. And I had no idea. She said she'd been a working actress for almost over 45 years.
Yeah.
So she gave one of the best speeches of the night. And she told a story about her mother. She told a story about her mother who sort of got lost in her marriage with her father. And at 80-something years old, finally turns to her daughter and says, "I haven't fulfilled my dreams." Oh, you could just hear everybody's heartbreak. And so she says, this is dedicated to all the women out there who are, faceless, nameless wives who, she encourages all of those women to stand up and give attention and efforts to their dreams. I just thought it was beautiful. Everyone stood up and clapped, and deservedly so, I thought.
Yeah, and this is a very strong category here. Wow. Because really, who knew who was going to win this one?
Yeah, this was up in the air.
Yeah, they're all worthy. Now, the best motion pictures. I'm up first with musical or comedy. The nominees: Crazy Rich Asians. The Favorite. Yeah. Green Book, Mary Poppins Returns, and Vice. The winner is Green Book. Now, the prognosticators told us that this would happen, and it came to pass. There you go, everybody. We'll see what happens as we move forward through the rest of award season, whether Green Book can sustain the momentum in the face of backlash.
Okay, well, I'm going to take the drama then.
Yep.
We've got Black Panther. Yep, I said it. Black Klansman. There's a lot of B's.
A lot of B's.
Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, If Beale Street Could Talk, and A Star is Born.
Yeah.
The winner goes to, and Bohemian Rhapsody takes it.
Yeah.
They were shocked. I love it when people are shocked. This, just looking at this year as we wrap it up, I have seen everything except for Bohemian Rhapsody, so I can't attest to whether this is deserved. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. But if you look at this drama category by the Hollywood Foreign Press, you can see that they are trying to take this big, huge cruise ship or warship and turn it around. And you can see as a reflection, some of the very extreme indies to a first-time director to a Marvel superhero movie to a well-seasoned director. Like, it's all over the place. You really don't know going forward who's really going to take the cake at the end when we get to the Oscars. I don't know. I have a feeling I know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, that particular movie wasn't involved, or it wasn't included, or couldn't be nominated. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is a strange one. Okay?
Yeah.
This is a strange one. We will see what happens. And as we move through, everybody, just know that the ref and I, we will be seeing even more of these movies. Yes. We don't want to give everything away at the moment, all of our opinions. But don't worry, by the time the Oscars comes around, who knows what's going to come out of my mouth? I'll say that. I'm right now thinking about how I'm going to talk about some of these movies.
Yeah.
Yes, but it is why I watch that. So I will keep that in mind.
That's right. Well, listen, thank you, listeners, so much for dipping in on our Golden Globe 2019 result podcast. Again, you can check out some of these movies we have fully reviewed. You can check it out on our website. Dip around. You'll find some other amazing things. But you keep locked here. We've got you totally covered for the award season coming up 2019. And for now, we're going to say ta-ta and eagerly wait for yet another award show.
The Why Watch That Talk.
Well, Happy New Year, listeners. It is 2019. It is a new you, new us, new everything. And, of course, new television.
And old and whatever else.
Yes. We're not even throwing out the old and bringing in the new. We're literally bringing in the old in some of these cases. A little bit of new, a holiday special here and there, and a couple, like a mini series that we'll review. But we wanted to say Happy New Year to every one of you. We appreciate you sticking with us over the years or whenever you joined us. I will say that, Critic, I did miss you. You were gone for quite some time, but you're going to have to pay for it, buddy, because the vacation time is going to have to come to an end because we are going to dive into this TV situation right now.
Yeah, and see, I was about to say I missed you too until you dropped that on me. I
got a whip.
Yeah, but you know what?
What?
You were up to some stuff over the holidays.
I was.
We're watching some things, and I think you're going to start this off as the reviewer. Is that what's happening? And are we starting with Vanity Fair?
Well, if you want to.
On Amazon, it's a 7-part miniseries, I believe, unless they're going to have a second season. And this does come to us from the Brits. So tell us what's going on. I mean, I feel like I've seen this before. And I full disclosure, I did start watching this, but you go ahead and tell us about it.
You certainly didn't. Okay, so it's Vanity Fair, and a lot of you are thinking, whoa, is this the book?
Yeah.
Is this based on that Reese Witherspoon movie that we saw? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say yes and no to all of that. Yes and no to all of it. Now, first of all, we've got a very, very strong will. It's during the 1700s, I believe. No, the 1800s. 1848-ish, something like that. We're in England, of course. And we've got a very, very whip-smart girl who is an orphan, who is actually in an all-girls school, boarding school. And her name is Becky Sharp, and she's played by Olivia Cooke. Now, Becky Sharp is exactly like her last name. Very sharp, very witty, but she's not your conventional 19th century girl. She is definitely a woman who wants to climb up the social ladder because she's on the very bottom. Now, she's in this all-girls school, and unfortunately, it doesn't fare well for her. But fortunately, she does have a friend who's going to take her in for the moment to kind of show her London. And that friend is Amelia Sedley, played by Claudia Jessie. And she decides to bring good old Becky home with her. Now, who does she meet in the meantime? She meets her friend Amelia's brother, who is just come back from India. He's well-to-do. He's rich. We know that Claudia is also she's basically almost engaged herself to be married. So these four folks kind of roam around London, looking for things to do as young people would did during that time. But we immediately see that Becky Sharp has her eyes set on the cash. Yes, she is a gold digger. In the words of some famous rapper who will be nameless on the show. As we move along, those things didn't pan out with the brother, but Becky has her eyes set on someone else. Why? Because she's made to be a governess for a very rich yet kind of backwoods kind of family, and she falls in love with one of the sons there, but he's penniless. Now I'm going to fast forward through everything. The whole show is about Becky not only getting the finances that she needs through a man, and if she doesn't get it through a man, her husband, let's say, she will get it from somewhere else, and she'll do whatever she needs to do to get it without, risking some scandal. Whereas everybody else is sort of in what we call Vanity Fair. They're either worried about their social status, they're worried about the way they look. It's all a huge show about people being self-absorbent. And quite frankly, I found the acting to be as well. I'm sorry. The acting, the writing, the whole thing was very self-absorbent. And I love a good period piece. So my recommendation to you is, if you're a fan of like those, this is going to sound like shade, but it's not. If you're a fan of BBC putting out a period piece that's sort of like, we needed to throw this together to get a period piece going. No, throw it together in a sense of, let's make this as cool as possible using like modern music, but everybody's in period clothes, but it doesn't quite work. But you don't care because you love to see period clothes and you love to see that period matched up with this period. Then this is for you. If you're serious about your period pieces, this may not be for you. I found the lead character to be detestable. She does very detestable things. She has no regard for any other character. Now, the actor did the best she could, but I just didn't like the lead character. I thought, why am I rooting for you? Why am I watching this? Why am I even still talking about this? I'm sorry, Amazon. This was not for me.
Wow. I'll tell you this, everybody. Watch out for that dagger that the ref will pull out.
I'm so sorry. It's terrible. I don't mean to throw any shade. Those people worked hard, and everybody in the crew deserves kudos. But as something that I would want to watch again, it's just not my cup of tea. But it may be yours, listeners.
Yeah, I gotta say it was not mine. I watched about 20 minutes, and that was enough. Now moving on, something else that you watched.
Yes.
Was the holiday special for Schitt's Creek. Now.
Ooh.
That's on Pop, and that is SCH, everybody. Yes, it is. Thank you very much. So tell us what's going on with this crazy family of Schitt's Creek.
You know what? The funny thing is, I've been trying to get the critic to watch Schitt's Creek for so long, and he just refuses. He's like, it's on my list. I'll get there one day. Listen, you're missing out because Schitt's Creek, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to put it out here. It is one of the best comedies on TV right now. It is one of, I'm saying, top 5. Thank you. Why? Because you have Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Dan Levy, and Ann Murphy returning yet again as the Schitt's family, who you know from past. I can't believe you got me saying this, but now that I know it's just the last name. This family, as you know, they were extremely disgustingly wealthy, Beverly Hills kind of folks who lost everything, bankruptcy. The only thing they had left was a town called Schitt's Creek that the father, who's played by Eugene Levy, his name is Johnny, he bought as a joke for his son. Well, now they have to live there in a motel. So fast forward into 4th season, the end of 4th season, we know there is a wedding on the horizon. We know that Annie Murphy, who plays Alexis Rose, is finally going to get wed to Ted, which she was engaged to him at first, and they broke off the engagement, and there was a whole season of them missing their love. And then finally, at the end of season 4, it's like, we want to be with you, or I want to be with you. So there we are. The holiday special, however, is something that we haven't seen on Schitt's Creek before. And that is, we get a flashback. We get a memory of the actual holiday parties that they used to throw back in the day. I mean, this, because we never saw them rich. Well, this flashback shows just the disgusting, lavish, what they spent on these very famous holiday parties. And then, of course, reality comes and the dream is over. The flashback is over. And there they are in a motel. So Johnny gets an idea that he wants to throw a Christmas party on Christmas Eve. By the way, he wants to throw a Christmas party in one day and invite people from Schitt's Creek. But the question is everybody on board with that? You will be surprised at what happens on this holiday special, especially if you can't even get Moira to do what she does best, and that's throw a party. For some reason, this holiday, she's not quite feeling it. Meanwhile, Dan Levy, who is vastly in love with his new partner, excellently played by Noah Reed Patrick, they're starting to get serious. And this holiday season, it starts to become more and more evident that we think that Patrick really is the guy for David. But David is still struggling to trust. So at the end of the holiday special, we find out just where everybody stands relationship-wise. And we also find out something that makes the show so wonderful and beautiful. We find out what money can do to family and what good old-fashioned love and care can do to family. It's just beautifully played yet again by the folks there on Pop. This show is, if you're not watching it, you can catch up on Amazon. Maybe it might be on Netflix, not sure, but it really is a good balance of straight improv, funny, hilarious moments, and then they'll drop that bomb of drama on you, just enough for you to just want more and more. So there it is with that. Now, you've been watching some stuff that I haven't been watching, and we've got a series premiere of Project Blue Book. It's in its first season. History Channel, about 10 episodes. History Channel's trying to knock them out, I guess.
Yeah. And it's the 1950s. There's an Air Force pilot flying over Fargo, North Dakota. He notices a strange light in the sky, only to discover that it's what we would call a UFO, or so he thinks. And he's under attack. Now, after the incident, the pilot reports this to his superiors, who can see that his plane has clearly sustained damage. But the U.S. government can't allow the public to believe that aliens are real. So the Air Force enlists Captain Michael Quinn, played by Michael Malarkey, who was, by the way, Enzo in the Vampire Diaries. So he investigates the pilot's claims. Now, Captain Quinn is an ambitious fellow, so he gladly accepts. However, he must work with Dr. J. Allen Hynek, an astrophysicist who has novel ideas, and he's struggling to be taken seriously, of course, by his peers. And by the way, the real case files from the real Project Blue Book, which, of course, the real Dr. Hynek was involved in, they serve as inspiration for the show. So there's some real basis to it.
Oh, gotcha, yes.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Hynek, played by Aidan Gillen, for all of you Game of Thrones fans, that's Littlefinger. He isn't so sure that the people claiming to have seen what he calls UFOs are incorrect. But Captain Quinn tells him that his job is to explain how the alleged UFO sightings are actually the result of other, more logical and pedestrian means. They don't want to panic people. But will Dr. Hynek do as he's told? Or will he complicate things due to his suspicions? Also, what effect will he and the investigations have on Captain Quinn? And what about the Air Force? Are they on the up and up? Now look, this show is really a mix of two other TV shows. Manhattan, you might be thinking of that.
Ah, yes.
And The X-Files.
Ooh.
Like Manhattan, it's a period piece that concerns itself with science, despite it's set a decade after Manhattan, but okay, close enough. Also, one of its central characters is a scientist whose ideas are dismissed by the establishment. Now, you may even be thinking about Strange Angel from CBS All Access. Same kind of thing.
Yes.
So if you take that and add in the whole duo investigating unexplained phenomena, that X-Files stuff, the result is this show, and that's not a bad thing. However, as I was watching it, it seemed that this show was more interested in its subject matter than I was. There was no discernible spark, and I just didn't care that much. Even still, I'm willing to watch the next episode, the second one, to make sure. But here's my recommendation. Here it is. If this is your cup of tea, by all means, check it out. Also, since it's set in the 50s, there are some parallels to what's going on in American culture and government today.
Oh,
so
lordy.
Yeah, so if you're interested in seeing that, okay, this might work. But if the nostalgic UFO stuff isn't quite your thing, I'm not sure that this show will change your mind. It's fine, but nowadays that's probably not enough.
Gotcha. Now, Netflix has a new show out called Sex Education. You can binge it straight through. And are we going to be educated?
Wow. Well, this is what the Sex Education is about. Okay, there's Otis. He's an awkward teen whose mom is everything he's not. She's a sex therapist.
Oh, boy.
And while this means that she's a very open person, she's also someone who takes herself seriously. I mean, after all, she's played by Gillian Anderson.
Speaking of
the X-Files, right? Now, this causes all sorts of problems for Otis, both personally and publicly, and both sexually and otherwise. But we find out that he's not the only one with problems because it's time for him to go back to school. And at school, of course, there are the various kinds of stereotypical teenagers that you'd expect. But here are the main ones. Otis's best friend, Eric, is one of just two gay guys at the school, but unfortunately for Eric, he's the not-so-cool one. Also, Eric's being terrorized by Adam, who's the son of the school's head teacher and who has his own secrets and insecurities of the sexual variety. Because at the moment, Adam is dating Amy, who's one of a quartet of aloof, popular kids, those kids. But Adam and Amy are having problems in the bedroom. Now, of course, Adam, the bully, walks around school like he owns the place and everything's fine, but by a twist of fate, Otis and Adam end up being paired up for a class project, which puts Adam on a crash course toward Otis's mom and her insights. And as a result, certain truths are unearthed about Adam, which opens the door for Otis to advise Adam on how to fix his problems. Yes, Otis is schooling Adam. And that launches this show into unexpected territory. We find out that Otis might have a gift, just like his mom, but this doesn't go unnoticed because Maeve, who's the loner with, multicolored hair, all of that, she has a bad reputation. She witnesses Otis's seeming success with Adam. And Maeve thinks that there's an opportunity for her and Otis to make some money by helping their classmates resolve their sexual insecurities. But does this oddball pair know exactly what's in store for them as a result? And how is all of this going to play out? Now, look here. If watching a show that focuses on the sexual awakenings and insecurities of teens doesn't make you antsy, and if you're fine with explicit content and being grossed out at times, then I think that Sex Education is worth a try. After all, it has style and energy. Also, while there are plenty of predictable moments, there are a few surprises to keep things interesting. Plus, the very first episode is a great introduction to the show, so you'll know whether you should keep watching it afterward. So if you're interested, Sex Education, it's crafted well enough and entertaining enough to justify an occasional watch. You don't have to binge it, but they do a good job.
Gotcha. We'll not be watching it, but Amazon Prime has Informa. It is. I know 6 episodes. You can binge it.
Yeah, so there's a man and a woman on the tube in London. The woman gets off the train, but she's forgotten something, her phone. The man sees this, grabs the phone, and rushes off the train to give it back to her. Finally, he tracks her down at a nearby coffee shop. The woman's thankful for his help. The man's polite. And then someone starts shooting.
Oh, dear.
Cut to a courtroom. Standing before a judge is Detective Sergeant Gabe Waters. He's asked about how he knows the assailant. But just as he begins to speak, the title sequence starts.
Ooh.
And that, everybody, is how you begin a show.
I love that. Keep going.
Now, after the title disappears, we're taken back a year and introduced to Raza Shah. He's a British Pakistani Muslim who's just an ordinary bloke. That's him. But because of his identity, he's had to learn how to navigate a culture that can be quite hostile. He also dabbles in drugs, which has unexpectedly tragic consequences for him after a night out with his girlfriend. He winds up in police custody.
Ooh.
And this takes us back to D.S. Waters, who is a former undercover cop, keep that in mind, with his own issues to contend with. Now, Waters works for London's counter-terrorism special unit, and the unit is currently on the hunt for a terrorist named Ahmed El-Adua, who pulled off a major attack in Rotterdam, and who the unit suspects might be behind a potential attack in London. Now, one of Waters' informants has some potential insight into El-Adua, which places the informant's life in danger and connects to Raza in a way that I won't say. Also, Waters has been tasked with training a new colleague, Detective Constable Holly Morton. Now, while DC Morton isn't the type who makes friends easily, she does have some creative ideas about how to cultivate informants, among other things. And she spots Raza, right, while he's in custody, and decides that Raza might make a good CI. But will Raza agree? And if not, what will that mean for his family, including his younger brother, his father, and his mother? Now, if he does agree, though, what will that mean for him? And overall, how do all of these people relate to one another? And the shooting? And how will all of this show's plot points interconnect to form a whole? Now, look. All right, now. Here's the thing about Informer. It reminds me of the night of... Before you get excited though. Now, don't forget, the rest get excited. Hold on though. Now, keep in mind, The Night Of was based on a British crime drama. Okay, it was. This show touches on immigration, terrorism, religion, race, class, familial bonds, and the like within the crime genre, right? The crime drama genre. So, think in The Night Of. Plus, it has a main character who's of Pakistani descent and who gets into trouble because of romantic interests, right?
Yeah.
There we go. However, it's not the same as The Night Of. It's its own show with a different story to tell, and just so you know, it's not quite as good.
Oh.
Even still, I have to say that from the beginning of the series, I was interested. Now, did I remain as interested throughout? No, but I was interested enough. Also, the pacing is spot on, and the sequencing of how and when the show reveals information is well planned. In addition, the music, spiced with bits of surprising optimism, successfully supports the pacing while at times hinting at the sadness to come. Also, watching someone be coerced into and groomed as an informant is a nice angle for this show to take. However, the bits about being an undercover cop, that stuff, they aren't as gripping, gotta say. Regardless, you can add Informer to the already long list of British crime dramas that are worth a watch.
Ooh, okay. So it sounds like a companion piece to The Night Of.
Yeah, in a way.
Okay, let's move on to the last series premiere, and that's Deadly Class, which is on Sci-Fi. It premieres on the 16th, but you got a chance to take a look at it just a little ahead of time, as of taping, we'll say. And it's sounds like it's only about 10 episodes, so it's not like, committing to 23 episodes. The question is, do we want to commit to the one?
Well, just so you know, until the 16th, as the ref said, you can watch that first episode via the Sci-Fi app. So there you go. Now look, in Deadly Class, it's 1987 in San Francisco.
Ooh.
And we're introduced to no ordinary class and no ordinary high school. The teacher is Lynn, and he's the school's headmaster. And at the moment, he's teaching his students how to think like killers. Oh yeah, killers. So they better be on their toes because the consequences of disobedience are severe. Now, we, the audience members, aren't the only ones learning the ropes here because there's a new kid in the class whose name is Marcus, and his reputation precedes him. You see, the world thinks that Marcus killed all the people in his former group home, and frankly, it's not like he didn't have reasons to do so. First of all, his mother and father were killed by a woman who belonged in a mental institution. Then he was treated abominably by the people in the home he was sent to afterward. And then he was treated in a similar fashion by a fellow homeless man after he escaped the home.
Okay.
And by the way, all of this he blames on Ronald Reagan. Yeah. So when Marcus was given the choice to stay on the streets or enroll in this school for assassins, which is called King's Dominion, the choice was obvious. But what did he get himself into? Because here's the thing, having a reputation at King's Dominion is equivalent to having a bounty on your head. And the school, like seemingly all of, yeah, right. And this school, just like, it seems like every prep school's like this. I mean, just thinking of Sabrina the Teenage Witch recently, it's ruled by cliques, or in this case, they're gangs. That are filled with children of former students who are now wealthy and powerful and deadly. So, since Marcus doesn't fit neatly into any of the gangs, he's half Nicaraguan, half American, and he's an orphan. He's the biggest mark the school has ever seen. But he's this show's lead character, so something must happen to keep him safe in the face of all of these deadly challenges.
Ooh.
Something must happen to land him in a spot in a gang and keep him alive, right? But
unless it's like Game of Thrones and you just kill him.
Right. But, well, we'll see. But in a school that's filled with so many different kinds of killers to be, can anyone be trusted like Game of Thrones? I'll tell you this. You better not let your guard down. Now, here we go with the review. Deadly Class. It has the spirit and the style of a show that's based on a comic book, which it is. So it has some flash and attitude. It winks at other works such as The Matrix, various prep school dramas, and even West Side Story. Okay?
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, and it knows that it's the coolest kid on the block. I will say that I found the pilot episode entertaining enough to warrant watching the second. Now, did everything connect and was everything supported? No, but it wasn't that big of a deal. However, this show does have one glaring problem. Here we go. Uh-oh. Benjamin Wadsworth, who plays Marcus, just isn't that believable. I don't buy it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he's supposed to be out of his depth in the show and all, but still, I don't buy it. I don't even buy his voiceovers. And frankly, I'm much more interested in the various classmates that he has to deal with at the school, and I'm certainly much more interested in whatever Benedict Wong is doing as Master Lin. So here's my hope. I hope that they find a way to ground what Benjamin does as Marcus. He needs some attitude or something like that, because if that doesn't happen soon, there will be a big old hole in the center of this show that's never filled.
Let's move on to season premieres. Yes, these shows are back. This is a highly anticipated season 2 premiere. Grownish is back on campus, but this time, instead of its tiny little order that they had first round, they've got 20 episodes. And as of taping, they've aired 3. The first night was 2 episodes in the premiere, and then they just aired the third one as of taping not too long ago. And so we're both caught up on it. And again, this is on Freeform, and Yara, who plays Zoe, is having a very different second year. She's not quite in control.
Uh-oh. And by the way, everyone, if you subscribe to Hulu, you actually get Grownish as well Just a little delay, just so you know. Okay, so Zoe's back at college, as the ref hinted at. She's a sophomore now, yeah. Which means that everything ref should be in your sophomore year bigger, better, and easier, right?
Wrong.
Wrong, because after she returns to Cal U, she finds that things aren't as smooth as she'd like them to be. She and her friends find that they have to struggle with inappropriate living conditions and each other. In addition, it's been 3 months since Zoe's seen her boyfriend, Luca, who summered in Paris.
Yes, and remember how they got together. That was a fluke with Luke.
And when they finally see each other again face to face, it's awkward. Also, as is common with young people, Zoe and Co care about how they're perceived and received. And there are rules, both spoken and unspoken, that need to be followed, which can prove challenging. And so season 2 of this Blackish spinoff continues to focus on Zoe's growing pains as she gets closer and closer to full-on adulthood. And while it ain't terrible, it certainly ain't easy.
Well, it's been a good time. I'm having a great time with the show. Now you can go, because that's all I'm going to say. I like it.
Yeah, and I agree. I will say the first episode, you could tell that they were reintroducing us to the world and all of that. And I thought it was too much of focus on that. But look, by the second episode, they really got into the swing of things, continuing on in the third episode here. The great thing about this show, what keeps me watching and what keeps me from being completely annoyed with these young people is that one of its major foundational themes is that growing up has always been hard to do. It's just expressed differently from generation to generation.
Yeah.
As long as they keep doing that, and I'm so pleased that they are so far, this is definitely something to watch for a lot of ages. I won't say all, but a lot.
I do have one beef. The new dean of students, which we won't reveal, is the most ridiculous choice ever. I get why they're doing it, but it makes absolutely 100% no sense at all.
Well, it didn't make sense when he was doing it in the first season.
Well, the first season he's doing that situation at midnight, but now he's the dean of students. Like, he has another full-time job. So whatever, you can probably figure out who we're talking about. Moving on to not Blackish, but The Blacklist. That's Black on NBC. 22 episodes, this one. James Spader is absolutely deciding not to ever work again in features because he is completely happy doing the show. I don't know if that's true or not. It probably isn't, but where are we at this point? I'm kind of just checked out from Blacklist.
Hold that thought, okay? But it has come to this, everybody. It's come to this. At the end of the previous season of the show, FBI Special Agent Lizzie has found out that she has a sister.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
And that the man who has claimed that he's Raymond Reddington and her father is a fraud. Yeah, fraud. This fraud has 2 syllables. Fraud.
I can't even.
So, Lizzie's determined, it seems, to get to the bottom of things and expose the fraudulent Raymond for who he truly is.
Wait, so the actor James Spader is not really Raymond?
That's what we think.
Oh, I can't even.
That's the question, right? He's claiming to be Raymond. Maybe he's really not. Because the real Raymond was her father, but is he really the Raymond that is her father?
Can we squash this? I mean, move on.
Now, okay.
Sorry.
I will come back to those sentiments in a moment. Now, so she's got to get to the bottom of things, we think. And she needs to do that not only for herself, but also for her sister, who's kind of egging her on. Now, Raymond seemingly has no idea about Lizzie's machinations, or does he? Also, Raymond thinks that things are looking up for him in his criminal pursuits, which of course can't be a good sign. But as far as he's concerned, he's still helping the FBI capture criminals from the blacklist, and he still does so in a way that serves his best interests. Plus, he's still sharp as a tack, which means that all is well, right? So, here's some questions. Who's going to prevail? Lizzie or Raymond or someone else? And what's the actual truth? Will we ever know? Also, can any of these people be trusted? Plus, what other twists and turns are in store, not only from the inside, but also from the outside? And ultimately, will we care? Now, as always, the Blacklist rests on the shoulders of whom?
James Spader.
As Reddington, he's so much fun to watch because he's having fun and he knows what he's doing. As a result, everything else here pales in comparison. In fact, at this point, they could skedaddle Lizzie altogether, and you know what would happen? The show would actually get better. Much better.
You've been saying this for how many years?
Who cares about Lizzie? No offense to the actress.
Yeah, she's amazing, but come on.
Look, she's in the way, and the writing for her is dull at best. Now, while they forced her into being an integral part of Raymond's story, she's still just a nuisance. Also, the attempts to connect this show to the current political climate seem unnecessary. The connection is better left unsaid. So if you're going to watch this, it's for Spader when he's present. For me, I'm barely holding on because of him, and I'm not sure how long that's going to last. They should end this show sometime in the near future. Didn't I say this about Blind Spot? Didn't I say this? And you know what they should do? Do a spinoff called Reddington.
Yeah.
That'd be a show worth watching and reviewing. Thank you.
Well, you heard it here. That's the critic will be producing that show. Now let's end this thing. This is the longest to split this up. Let's end this with, to me, one of Why Watch that's most anticipated returns. It's up there with Poldark. It's up there if they, decide to bring back Rectify. Victoria has wedged her way into our hearts, and she is back on PBS with only 8 episodes. Come on!
Yeah. Now let's do a bit of catch up. Last season, Queen Victoria had to deal with the deaths of her dog and her beloved advisor and former Prime Minister Lord M. We miss him.
Lord M. We do miss him.
Rufus Sue will come on back in ghost form. Why not? Her husband, Prince Albert, had to deal with revelations about his parentage. And they both had to deal with their respective political roles, which is always a dicey situation for their marriage in the face of war, famine, and near-death experiences. In addition, of course, there were plenty of other goings-on, most notably the awful and sad circumstances surrounding Prince Albert's brother, Prince Ernest.
Why did they do that to him?
I know. And now in season 3, it's 1848. Is that Vanity Fair's time? Yeah, it's 1848. And the French people have overthrown their king. So what will that mean for Victoria and Albert? Should Victoria allow King Louis Philippe to flee to England to stay in exile?
Come on now.
No, he's family after all.
Yeah, he is.
And how will the events in France affect the people and politicians, especially Foreign Secretary Lord Palmerston, who's new this season, in Britain? Wait till you see him. Now, revolution's in the air, which means that Victoria may not be safe either. Also, her older half-sister, Princess Feodora, has appeared without warning at the palace, and she's in exile too. So what kind of mischief is she going to stir up? Plus, Victoria's and Albert's 2 oldest kids are starting to have opinions.
Oh, gosh.
Victoria's pregnant yet again.
Okay. What's new?
And there are more babies to come. And as always, you got to ask, can Victoria's and Albert's marriage withstand the constant, multifaceted strain? Plus, don't forget about all of the non-royal characters whose plights could fill a show all by themselves. Now, thankfully, the first episode of Victoria's 3rd season maintains the strength of its previous season. You know what? Once this show got its act together toward the latter parts of its first season,
I tell you what.
The pacing has been well executed, and the story has managed to focus on what matters, both on the large and on the small scales. They continue to make the Queen and Prince and the rest of the characters worth watching, and the cast is spot on. I'm happy to say that I still care, that I certainly want to see what comes next, and that they're doing a good job of filling PBS's Downton-sized hole.
Yes.
So, yeah, if you're looking for that kind of fix and are willing to resist comparing the show to Downton at every turn, then Victoria should definitely be on your watch list.
Oh, I love that. That's a perfect place to end. Now, look, yeah, this was a long segment. Why? Because we've been away. Now we're back. And so is TV. So you stay right here with us here at Why Watch That, and we promise you that we'll tell you exactly what you should be watching and maybe what to skip.
A Why Watch That first look.
You know what? We do have 2 first looks. And since I'm talking, you know that it's from the ref. What in the world is going on? Now, these are 2 major films everyone's talking about. Some of them for good reasons, some of them maybe not so good. But this is Bird Box. Yeah, that movie that everybody saw on Netflix. And Green Book, which just won 3 Golden Globes, has all of this buzz, and then has some other stuff going on behind the scenes.
There's other buzz.
Yeah. But before we get to Green Book, let's start it off with Bird Box. Yes, everyone, this is directed by Suzanne Bier. It is written by Eric Heiserer, and it stars Sandra Bullock. You know it stars Sandra Bullock as the mama. And we have Trevante Rhodes, who's from Moonlight. We have John Malkovich. We have Lil Rel Howery. So I'm like, are we laughing? Jackie Weaver, who just scares all of us. B.D. Wong, Tom Hollander, Sarah Paulson, all kinds of people in this cast. And it is, yes, we know, now available in perpetuity on Netflix. So, Ref, tell us all about this. Is it worth the hype?
The thing about it is, if you're anywhere near social media, it's very difficult to scroll past just one social media post without seeing some sort of Bird Box meme that's probably true and ridiculous. But first, let me tell you what happens. We start off with Sandra Bullock. She is these 2 children. She is just yelling at them. I mean, she's just going in with these 2 kids, just yelling, "You better follow me." They're in the woods. "You better follow me. You better do what I say. You better make sure you are right where I'm supposed to tell you to be. And don't you ever take these blindfolds off." Ooh. We're like, okay, well, settle down. What's going on here? Like, why are you yelling at these 2 kids? Call child services. Well, you find out because several years back, you see a very different Sandra Bullock. She's with her sister, played by Sarah Paulson. And Sandra is more or less, she's kind of a loner a little bit. She kind of just wants to continue on with her painting because she's an artist. Well, her sister Sarah is trying to get her to make this certain appointment. All right, let's hop in the car. They've got a great relationship. They're going back and forth. They're having a good time. And it's, wonderful. With the exception that there is this strange phenomenon. There are massive droves of people who are committing suicide. What? Not just a couple people, but like all walks of life. You can't even completely pin down why someone would want to end their lives, and they're doing it violently. Well, it hasn't hit the U.S. yet, so, what happens over there stays over there. Let's get to this appointment. We finally see what the appointment is, and that is Sandra Bullock is about 8 to 9 months pregnant. She's having a baby. Who's the baby daddy? We don't know. And guess what? We don't find out. After the appointment, they're walking on the way to the car, and the sister's trying to talk her into going to, mom's house to visit. And we see this woman beating her head against the glass. Just beating her head against it. So much so that she cracks her neck and dies. What? What's going on here? Let's get out of here. Why did that woman, is something here? Is something in the US that's happening overseas? They run to the car, running. People everywhere, just offing themselves in weird and crazy ways. Oh my gosh, it's an apocalypse. Let's get the car. Let's go. Put it into high gear. They're driving. And finally she looks over at her sister. And her sister sees something so dark, something so unmentionable, something horrible. And her eyes glass over. And she hits the gas. And I'm not going to tell you what happens right there. Oh my gosh. Nothing is the same. My God, get out of the car, stumble your way. For some reason, when people look up and see this unmentionable, dark, very violent thing, they can choose nothing else but to kill themselves violently. Well, now, that is a certain way to start a movie. We get to this house and there are survivors there. John Malkovich, as you mentioned, he's there. Lil Rel is there. Jackie Weaver's there. Along with Trevante Rose, who plays Tom. He's the one who saves Sandra Bullock from this unmentionable situation that almost happens to her. You've got, just a house full of people who are freaking out. BD Wong's there, freaking out. What is happening? Why is it that when people see this thing that none of them have seen, that they want to hurt themselves? Well, let's prepare. Shut the blinds. Get everybody locked in. Don't open the door. And from there, that is Bird Box. If you look at it, you will die. And how you die is it going to be by your own hands. So the trick is, in this world, to survive without sight of this thing. And it's usually outside, so it doesn't come inside. You can be inside if you draw the blinds. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how do we get to these kids in the woods? How do we get to, Sandra Bullock yelling at these kids? Well, there are certain groups of people who can look at it, and they have certain mental issues. So the question is, if somebody's knocking at the door saying, my eyes are closed, please help me. Help me to come in. Do you trust them or do you not? The only way is to look into their eyes to see if they've been turned by this disgusting, dark figure that has been eliminating humanity, basically. That's the gist of the film.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty intense, crazy. Whoa. Performances. Sandra Bullock, give that woman she's probably going to get an Emmy nomination. She really commits, as Sandra does, to getting her point across. And in an interview, funny enough, she was talking to Ellen, and Ellen was like, hey, was it hard for you to yell? And she was like, no, it wasn't hard for me to yell at them kids. Shoot, we're in the middle of a crisis. These kids are going to hear it. So I was like, okay, Sandra was fully committed.
That's my kind of actor. Thank you.
Yeah, listen, those actor kids, I'm sure they were all triplets, and they just swapped out the kids because kids started crying in the middle of the shoot. She was really going in, getting her point across. Sandra Bullock does an amazing job. It's her movie, folks. But don't sleep on Sandra, because we've got wonderful appearances by actors. Tom Holland, you'll never look at him the same, no pun intended. Lil Rel does his job. He comes in. Jackie Weaver, you don't know why she's there until it's her time to know why she's there. And then you're like, oh, you hired her for that. John freaking Malkovich. If you're going to hire a butthole, somebody to play a real douche, he really does it well. I'm sure he's a kind human being, but boy, was he a tough watch. And then, of course, to me, the heart of the movie, the real heartbeat. Surprise, wonderful performance by Trevante Rose, who plays Tom and eventually the love interest. I mean, it really does. You have to ask yourself, what is family? How do you keep your family together? How do you still make love? And I don't mean just sex, but make love with among your family in a time of crisis. He really was the heartbeat of this. Overall, I will have to say this. Is this the best movie? No. The beginning portions of it, we're moving and shaking. By the time you get to the last, I would say last 1/6 of the movie, you're like, what is happening here? Like, can we stop this ship? Literally. Like, where are we going? And then when you finally get to the end, you're kind of like, okay, all right. We didn't quite work the ending out, but kind of who cares? Because this is really a wonderful Netflix, I will say. Maybe not movies, but Netflix experience where you're thinking and questioning, should I be wearing a blindfold? Now, my final say. If you take Quiet Place, which obviously people are playing on the whole senses apocalypse monster thing. If you take Quiet Place, mesh it with the Book of Eli, you're going to get Bird Box, and you'll know exactly what I mean when you watch it. So
I got that picture nice and clear with that. And again, everybody, it's on Netflix in perpetuity. Now, what's not possibly going to be on Netflix in perpetuity, we have no idea, is our next and final first look from the ref. It is Green Book. We talked about at the beginning of this episode how it won awards. Now look, it's directed by Peter Farrelly. Yes, Peter Farrelly, There's Something About Mary, him. He co-wrote it. Dumb and Dumber. And, he's done some dumb things in the past that he decided to apologize for now for this. Okay. We have also writing with him, Nick Vallelonga, whose father this is focused on. That's Viggo Mortensen's character. And I'm not even going to talk about him. Also writing, this is Brian Hayes Curry with them. And as far as I know, he has not had to apologize for a thing. We have, again, Viggo Mortensen.
Not yet.
Yeah, he's had to apologize for saying some stuff by mistake. We have Mahershala Ali, who doesn't need to apologize and won't, and that's fine. We know Mahershala, we love him, and he won an award for this already at the Golden Globes. And Linda Cardellini is also starring in it. It is out in theaters now. We know that. There's buzz for what's on the screen, and then there's another buzz what's off, but who cares about the off? Let's talk about the on. Go ahead, Ref.
Let's talk about America, 1960s, New York City. We've got Tony Lip, played by Viggo Mortensen. Viggo. He is a tough guy, huh? He's a tough Italian guy, and that's no exaggeration. It's kind of like that. He's a tough guy. He works the clubs at the what's that club? Copacabana. He works, works like a bouncer there. I mean, but you only call in Tony if there's trouble, and he'll take care of it very quickly. Maybe not quietly, but quickly. So we see that play out in the beginning. Well, he gets a phone call. Well, first of all, the Copacabana, it's having a dry. It's on hiatus. That's where we go. It's about 2 months. They're doing renovations. Tony's out of work. He's got a family. He's married to his lovely wife, Dolores, played by Linda Cardellini, as you said. They've got kids. How is he going to make ends meet? Well, he gets a phone call. He gets two calls, rather. One from the mob. We've got some work for you to do. Or he can also work for this doctor who needs a chauffeur. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. That sounds better than work for the mob. Let's go to this interview. Tony walks in, and he sees there are a ton of people in the room, but he's kind of out of place because Tony, is he's a heavy guy. He likes to eat. He's not refined. He can barely, get by with sentences full of structure. So he's outside waiting for this doctor and finds out that the doctor that he's waiting for is Dr. Don Shirley. Yes, black man, black, flamboyant, bigger than life musician. And that musician wants to tour the South. Tony's white. Don is black. They want to tour the South. So a white man's gonna drive a black man around? How is that going to work? Tony wants no part of it. No, get out of here. I can't do that. Well, as you saw it happened. These two very unlikely people, one being from having its roots in the Bronx, all the way to Italy, and the other having his roots in the upper echelon of New York society, shaping and shifting music, but is a black man. How do these two fare together? Well, it takes some tugging and a fighting and a warring, not in that sense, but in a sense of words, exchanging ideas. So finally they come to some sort of understanding that they are wonderful polar opposites that really do complete one another. Well, all this is happening in the North. It's not until they take a turn driving down south. As Don goes from venue to venue playing his brilliant music, we also see that America starts to show her ugly head with some of severe racism. The question is, will Tony be able to do his job and protect the doc from violence, from himself? Oh, I threw that in there. Whoa. And also, is he able to just keep his cool to get them out of the South? Well, you'll have to watch the movie to find out. Now, that all sounds serious and oh my gosh. But guess what? If you watched the Golden Globes, you know that what category this was in, didn't you? What was that? It was in the
musical or comedy.
Yeah, musical or comedy. So, this is Viggo Mortensen. He's not a comedian. This is, Mahershala Ali. He's not a comedian. Well, they're actors, aren't they?
Yeah.
I found myself in the theater howling. Laugh out loud moments between these two polar opposite characters. But some of the situations cliche, didn't matter. I couldn't even help myself. I didn't even want to laugh, but it just came pouring out of me. And the rest of the folks in the theater were obviously having as good of a time as I am. It just felt good. Yep, I said it. Twitter, quiet. It felt good. It felt good. I was laughing. If you know what a good companion piece to this is? Hidden Figures. Not comedian-wise, but Hidden Figures, the shininess of it. Let's shine up racism. Let's on it, no pun intended, and make it palatable for the masses. It's from an Italian man's perspective of how his father helped this guy deal with racism. So yes, people are talking about the white savior issue that's going on. Okay, he is in some respect teaching Don Shirley, who is extremely articulate and refined and extremely intelligent with multiple languages and under his belt. He teaches the man how to eat chicken. Does that sound offensive? Yes. But watching Mahershala and Viggo actually do it is something else. If you hear about it, okay, that's one thing. If you see it, it's something else. These two actors are having a good time. They are, and you can hear it even in their interviews. They're just having a good time playing these characters. They're committing fully. I mean, Viggo, I know he was nominated, but this is some of the best craziness that I've seen him do in a while. It really was an enjoyable. It was not quite the caricature, but it's pushing right up against it. But why? Because it's universal. It's released during the holidays. It's got to be palatable, and I think that was their effort of making it palatable. Is this for African Americans? No. Is this for the masses? Yes. Yes, it is. So if you don't feel like if you're African American or have a heart for what's going on right now with the community, I would not advise you watching this movie ready to be offended, because quite frankly, you probably will. If you're ready, I'm ready to be offended. Mm-hmm. But if you just go in and say, you know what, I just want to watch a movie, I want to laugh. I really, really want to laugh and just sort of feel good, then this might be the movie for you. This might be it. Now, is there controversy surrounding the movie? I mean, just about everybody attached to this movie has some sort of controversy with it going along with it. So if it's something that you really want to take a stand and say, I will not see this because, I think that we respect that. But if you are a person who enjoys, just being at the movies or enjoys characters, like sort of like a more hilarious Driving Miss Daisy, and you just don't feel like being, ready to right a wrong, then this may be the movie for you. I am going to admit it. I enjoyed it. Would I watch it again? Absolutely, I would. Is it the best movie? Absolutely not. The screenplay is challenging. It's a little challenging, but in the mouths of Mahershala, in the bodies of Mahershala and Vigo, it's absolutely what you would want to experience. It's just whether or not you can stomach some of the ignorant, we'll just say allegedly ignorant situations that may not sit well in 2018, 2019 America.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful review for that. And keep in mind, everybody, if you're thinking about supporting movies or not, you do have to consider the political climate that it's in. We already talked about that enough. But you also have to consider that Mahershala is starring in it. You've got to consider that Octavia Spencer is an executive producer and so on and so forth. So that's a choice for all of you to make. We do want to give you that information. And we do want to reiterate that, guess what? Bird Box, you know where that is on Netflix. Green Book, you know it's in theaters now. It will be available to buy, I believe, at the end of this month. So you have your choices there. And that takes care of our first looks. Ooh, what an interesting pair there, Ref.
A Why Watch That sneak peek.
Listeners, we have a very rare treat. I mean,
what?
Everybody's together. It's like the Jackson reunion. You remember in the 80s when they had the Victory Tour? We are right now on the
producer remembers.
2019 Victory Tour. Why is this? You know, we have to pay for that.
That was only 3 seconds. Jackson family, don't come for me.
Listen, the beautiful thing about what we're doing tonight as of taping is we are currently at Sundance Festival 2019. We're kind of wrapping it up. We actually, as of taping, have one more day, but we wanted to get this out to you as soon as possible. Why is that? Because Velvet Buzzsaw is coming out this Friday, February 1st on Netflix
in limited theaters.
In limited theaters, but nobody's going to do that. Unless you want to. We got a chance to see it. This is hot off the presses, basically. It is a new movie, directed and written by Dan Gilroy and starring a famous actor he likes to cast quite often. Of course, Jake Gyllenhaal, that would be that actor. You're going to see Toni Collette popping in, John Malkovich. You're going to see strong performances by Renee Russo, Daveed Diggs, Natalia Dyer. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So we're going to do the best we can, listeners, to explain Velvet Buzzsaw to you. And hopefully it'll make sense. If not, if you're intrigued, you can go check it out this Friday. But first, what's going on, Critic?
Yeah, and we were privileged to be at the world premiere.
Yeah.
Now, in the art scene in Los Angeles, critic Morph Vanderwalt, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, is God.
Is he?
What he says will make or break you, and so his world is populated by frenemies. Yeah, there's Redora Hayes, played by Renee Russo, who's a powerful art dealer, and she's on the lookout for a new artist played by Daveed Diggs. But she's also saying goodbye to her former Golden Boy artist, who's played by John Malkovich, and who's lost his touch since he quit drinking.
Well,
so you can imagine what he's like. In addition, there's Gretchen, played by Toni Collette, who decides to leave her job at a museum to become an art advisor to wealthy clients. Ooh. Now, there are also characters who are on the come up, most notably ludicrous aspiring artist Bryson, played by Billy Magnuson from Get Shorty, young and innocent Coco, played by Natalia Dyer from Stranger Things, and scheming Josephina, played by Zawe Ashton from Wanderlust. There's also Redora's art dealer rival, the ridiculously clueless John Dondon, played by Tom Sturridge from Sweet Bitter. So all of these crazy characters scheme to be relevant and in power. They certainly don't scheme for the love of art. However, little do they know that everything's about to change because Josephina discovers the work of a brilliant new artist named Ventral Dees. But the way she discovers it is unfortunate because it's due to his death.
Hey.
She finds him laying on the floor of their apartment building, dead.
Deed.
Now, Josephina wants to use this as an opportunity to go out on her own because Redora has recently put her on ice at work. However, you know that Redora is not about to let that go down. And so the two of them work together to push Deese's art, and everyone wants in on it. But what they don't know is that Ventral didn't want anyone to see his work. He wanted it destroyed. But why?
Why?
Well, when the bodies start to pile up, it becomes clear. So can anyone avoid the wrath of Deese? And if so, how? Also, just what is the significance of the velvet buzzsaw?
Dang, dang, dang.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so actually, that wasn't bad.
Oh, thank you.
It wasn't bad. But what we do have to say about this particular film. Now, yes, this director did Nightcrawler. Yes. Is this Nightcrawler critic? No.
No.
Absolutely not. At the end of the day, when you are watching Velvet Buzzsaw, you're going to not only get glimpses of drama, of course, thriller, horror, satire, and straight out comedy. When you put all that together, the question really is Velvet Buzzsaw successful at meshing everything together? Now, for me, sitting in that theater, it was evident and clear that Jake Gyllenhaal was having a good time playing his role.
Yeah.
I want to also highlight the fact that Toni Collette gives a performance worthy of rewinding. If you're at Netflix, if you want to rewind
a few times,
if you want to rewind her part, we ain't gonna be mad at you because it's definitely one of those. Actually, it's a performance and what happens.
Yes, exactly. As a result,
it's worthy of a rewind. And then we're also highlighting the ever so steady and confident Renee Russo, who delivers. Miranda Priestley, watch out.
Oh boy.
Because, Renee Russo's character is no one to reckon with. So overall, the actual acting was pretty good. It was solid. Everybody seemed to be having fun. But I will have to highlight that Toni Collette seemed like she knew what movie she was in versus meaning the complexities of the movie for me, like the drama, the thriller, the horror, the satire. She sort of had a better balance of that, and I don't know if it was written that way, if her character was just funny and serious and horrified and all those things, but at the end of the day, this is Dan's movie. He wrote it, he directed it, and although it wasn't all the way successful for me, I did have to say he had a very strong opinion.
Oh,
and you were clear on the fact, especially when you get to the very end. Wait Wait till those credits start rolling and you see another scene added. He has a very strong opinion about art and commerce.
Yeah.
So if you're into that kind of world, if you like a mesh of genres mesh together, if you like those actors that we just talked about, because you know everybody's going to give a strong performance, and if you don't mind being confused a good 90% of the time, this may work for you. But I do have to warn you, this is not a movie for everyone. You might want to take a pause if you like things to be linear and for a very definite conclusion.
Yeah, we agree. Look, I mean, this is a trip. That's what it is. It's a trip. Like you were saying, everybody's having fun, skewering the art world. Nobody safe. Artists, dealers, advisors, curators, especially critics. Yup.
Yeah.
Especially critics. Now, what is similar to Nightcrawler is that the sights of LA, the camera work, you get that kind of essence. LA and all its wonder and absurdity. You talked about Jake Gyllenhaal. He's this astute critic. It's completely ridiculous. But I will say he earns his check in the end. Like, he takes a turn where...
He certainly did take a literal turn.
Now, look, you talked about Tony. All of these people, well, not all, but we won't tell you which ones, but most of these people die.
And you see that in the trailer, so we're not ruining anything.
Her death, it's the absolute best death of all the characters. I won't tell you how that happens. Just know you won't forget it. You will laugh out loud. And that's what the ref's talking about here in rewinding. So keep that in mind. Now, here's my point. Watch Velvet Buzzsaw if you're interested in a great-looking satire horror film. There you go. Regarding anything you just heard, whatever it is. We said it's on Netflix, so here's what you do. Watch it at night, with the lights off, in the presence of a bunch of friends.
Yeah, because you're going to howl laughing or you're going to be horrified.
Yeah, and just know, again, it's not about making sense. It is a little long. I do want to put that in there. Even still, it's a weird kind of horror fun with plenty of amusing and inventive deaths, okay? And I certainly was intrigued throughout.
Well, you heard it here. You can actually catch Velvet Buzzsaw this Friday on Netflix. And like the critic said, it is going to be released in select theaters. But let's say it's not around where you live. You can always utilize your neighbor's Netflix account should they give you the password.
The Why Watch That Talk.
Well, listeners, it is indeed the end of the... It's the end of the road.
You talking about getting sued.
Well, here's what we're talking about here. It is our third year at Sundance. And if you know anything about this podcast, it is our favorite time of the year, just about. We leave our comfortable homes, LA, New York, and come all the way over to Utah, Park City, and spend like 5 days doing nothing but watching movies, going to events, networking, having a great time, and being all the while exhausted.
Yeah.
And sleep deprived.
Eating.
Well, you were eating. I didn't get my food. But anyway... We wanted to sort of recap what we experienced this year and then offer a little advice, just a little bit, of what we look forward to next year, what we hope to have happen for us to keep doing this. We saw some good movies this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a new program director for Sundance. Miss Kim, I'm going to call her.
Ooh.
This is her first year, and boy, does she come in with a strong opinion about what she thinks Sundance should look like.
Right.
And so hats off to Sundance for, first of all, having not only a woman, but a woman of color.
Yeah.
I believe she's an Asian woman, and I believe she is, I won't go into that. I believe there are many layers to her individuality.
Yeah, and experience.
And one of the things that she really stood firm on was she wanted to see more international presence at Sundance. But what she didn't say that we did see is that there was a commercial appeal to the programming that she offered this year.
Yeah.
And so what that means to you listeners, is that you're not only going to see some of the movies that we saw on Sundance come during the awards time, which is the usual. You may see it during the summer.
Yeah.
You may see it during that whole spring competition. And then, of course, award season. So let's dive into what we've sort of encountered so far. We started off with Native Son.
Yeah.
Native Son, which is based on Richard Wright's book. If you've been following us on social media, we kind of gave our take on that. But I think we both agree, Critic, that Native Son was an experience.
Yeah. Ashton Sanders as Bigger. Now, everybody, he was in Moonlight. He was the middle age. I just think he has an interesting talent.
He's got it.
Yeah. Lakeith Stanfield and him need to be together in something.
So if you'll check out, you'll also hear that we
note what I didn't say.
Yeah. We had an interview with Ashton on the red carpet, and we were able to get his take on things. So stay tuned for that. But for the most part, Native Son, either you're going to like it or not. There's not a whole lot of middle ground.
Yeah, people have opinions about that one. We will as well. And keep in mind, everybody, when we get closer to these release dates, we will give our full opinions.
Yes,
We're teasing.
I like a good tease. You know that. We then moved on and we saw Troop Zero.
Oh, goodness.
Cute. Stop it.
Cute.
Stop it. This is my deal with Troop Zero. Okay, first of all, it is a movie directed and written by Bert and Bertie. It's kind of like this, I don't know if they're new, but we really haven't seen a lot of their work in the States. Certainly not at Sundance in our coverage.
Right.
Since for the past 3 years, but they're Brits. And it stars Viola Davis.
Yeah.
Allison Janney.
Yeah.
Little McKenna Grace from
Young Sheldon. She's Young Sheldon's rival.
Jim Gaffigan.
Yes.
As well as other people just sort of
Mike
in.
Epps.
Mike Epps is in it. And as you can see from the trailer, it's what happens if you put a bunch of misfits in an organization like Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
What are you going to get out of that?
Yeah.
Now, you can hear that the critic keeps throwing out the word cute. That is his opinion. Of
course it's my opinion.
No, because a lot of times we speak for us.
Yeah, okay. All right.
That's his opinion. To me, it was more than cute. It was one of my favorites. I think it's going to be a huge, huge hit, and it'll be a hit across generations. I cried. I laughed. It was a great time. I think that's one to watch out for commercially.
Yeah, a good commercial one. Cute. Mostly fun.
Yeah, cute in his opinion.
Okay. Honey Boy, I Saw, which is based on the experiences of Shia LaBeouf with his father. Because remember, everybody, Shia started as a kid star and moving on and so on and so forth. So you see two different time frames of him and his experience with his father. Now, he plays his father. Okay. And the older version of him is Lucas Hedges. The younger version of him is Noah Jupe. And let me tell you, it's something to behold. I'll put it that way. Now, a lot of people are raving about it or really enjoyed it. I have some questions.
Well, we can't wait to hear your full review
Yeah,
with that because I'm really interested to hear all your thoughts, actually.
It's coming. I'm not giving them away now.
All right.
But
I tried.
will say, look, everybody, it's for a specific audience.
There you go. We then capped off day 2 with Late Night, which already got picked up by Amazon at a very healthy penny they paid for that.
Broke the record for U.S. release, right?
Absolutely. We've got a great cast here. We've got Mindy Kaling. She not only wrote it, but she stars in it as well. Right. Yeah. And it also stars Emma Thompson. Oh my gosh. John Lithgow, among other people popping in and out of there that you should recognize. And remember, if you're following us on social media, we told you what it's kind of about, but very, very teasing. I'm teasing you that it's about a late night host who has to face the reality if she's still got it.
Yeah.
Does she have it or not? Does she need new perspective? and a new voice. Who can provide that new voice and new perspective? That is the question of Late Night. But it is a comedy, and I will add, it is just about a rom-com.
It's a lot of things.
It's a rom-com-ish.
It's a whole bunch of stuff. So, that's what we get from that. Now, this was day 3. At the beginning of day 3, we saw the last black man in San Francisco.
Got some great interviews.
This 2 years ago when we first started here, they were talking about, making this movie.
Yeah, the director and the
producer, all of that. And now we get to see them come full,
And who jumped on board with this film?
Well, Plan B did, and A24 will be distributing. Now, you may be saying, wait, is this about one black man in San Francisco? No.
You'll have to, but you will be surprised not only who the last black man is, but that performance by one of the last black men was amazing. Some great new actors out there. We then moved on and saw The Report. Ooh, that gets my juices flowing. It's the new Adam Driver movie and Annette Bening, and it's based on a true story of this man who decided to make it his life's work for 5 years to really unearth what happened with the CIA's methods of extracting information during 9/11. Basically, we're talking about torture.
Yeah. Well,
that's what The Report is.
Yeah, and they call it enhanced interrogation. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. This is something.
It's something to behold. And Adam Driver is in the same movie as everyone else, which is exciting. No, and I don't say that to be mean. He's just so intriguing and so drawn in. And Annette Bening basically said, excuse me.
Very good. And then after that, that night we saw Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, about Ted Bundy. Yes, Zac Efron plays him. His longtime girlfriend is played by Lily Collins. I mean, look, he is getting really strong reviews.
Critic! Hey. I thought we were...
I didn't say anything.
Exactly.
You will hear my full thoughts when we review it in full.
You know what?
He's getting strong reviews.
Yes. Is that the opinion of the critic?
The opinion of the
fact that
critic.
He is getting...
That is my opinion. He's getting strong reviews.
From you?
No. It was fine.
You know what? This movie is really... it's about Ted Bundy, remember. And it is not the Ted Bundy that you think you're going to see. We know that Ted Bundy was a serial killer who killed dozens and dozens and dozens of women, including a 12-year-old child.
Oh.
And the most horrific things, if you want to go down a deep hole, that director also recommended that there is a new documentary that's coming out on Netflix about Ted Bundy. Yeah. And so if you want to go down that dark hole of Ted Bundy, but quite frankly, this movie isn't that.
No.
He really, look.
Well, it's from the perspective, supposedly, of his girlfriend. And that documentary you're talking about is on Netflix. Netflix did release a warning to people, said don't watch it alone.
No, it is very, very disturbing. We then moved on to the next day, which is day 4, and we saw the movie Loose. Now, this movie... See the critic? I can see the critic, and usually I can't. Loose is a movie that is... The question of the movie is, as a black man in America, or black person in America, the question is, can you be more than just a monster, viewed as a monster? And can you also be viewed as more than being perfect?
Right.
Why are you only put in 2 categories? Either you're a monster or you're perfect. Well,
maybe you're both.
Maybe you're... Yeah. Here's the thing. This movie, and we'll get into our full review, there were some very disturbing performances. one of the lead actors. He did a good job, but listen, I don't want to be in a dark alley anywhere near that kid because
I just wanted to punch him. I told you this. I'm saying it.
Not the actor.
Not the actor. Not the actor, but the character. The whole, like from the beginning, before even the stuff, there's something about it.
Now remember, this is Calvin Harris Jr.
Calvin Harrison Jr.
We've got Naomi Watts. We've got Octavia Spencer, Tim Roth. All sorts of people jumping in on here, and it's about a white couple who adopts an African young man who is a survivor of war.
Yeah.
And what happens when you try to acclimate him into a society that he doesn't know, doesn't understand, and he has to grow up with certain expectations on that. So we're gonna leave that right there.
Yeah.
It is
put some respect on Octavia Spencer.
You know what? Watch out for that performance.
Now, before that, I saw The Farewell. Look, this, I think it might be number one for me, or number two. It's very difficult for me to determine which of my favorites from Sundance this year. This is starring Awkwafina. Yes, Awkwafina, you know her, you love her. And it is not Awkwafina from Crazy Rich Asians. No, it is not. It's essentially about her grandmother is diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And in Chinese culture, they don't tell people, hey, you're about to die in 3 months. Instead, they try to hide it and make their homegoing as smooth as possible. So what this family decides to do is throw a wedding for Awkwafina's character's cousin. So they all go to China to do this, and the grandmother's delightful, and you see what unfolds. So this is a comedy and a drama. It is specific and universal, and I will get into it more in my complete review, but I loved it. It made me have every emotion in the book.
We capped off day 5 with Velvet Buzzsaw, which, if you listen to our review, which you will probably have heard by now, or it's available.
Yep.
It is available on Netflix starting February 1st as of taping, and boy, is it an experience. This is the Jake Gyllenhaal, Rene Russo, Toni Collette, a whole bunch of people being the elite artists of LA, and what happens when their eliteness gets them into trouble with some art that should not be shared. In fact, it has fatal consequences for many of the elitists.
Wow.
We'll just say that.
Yes. Now, day 5, we started off with Relive, which is starring David Oyelowo, Storm Reed is in it, Brian Tyree Henry, and so on and so forth. So what happens is, David Oyelowo plays a detective. He has this niece that he cares for. Her parents are kind of, sketchy. So she calls him whenever she needs him. But what happens is, they end up being murdered.
Not David Oyelowo.
No, not him, but the other family. Okay. So he has to figure out exactly what happens or what happened to them. It may not be as it appears. And what happens is he gets a call from his niece from the dead.
The past.
Yeah, when is it? The past, the dead, is he hallucinating? And then what kind of information can she offer? And does that have anything to do with the future?
Dun, dun, dun. It's definitely a thriller.
It's from Blumhouse, right?
Yeah. And there's some, not horror, I wouldn't say horror, but it's got a thrill to it that some twists and turns. Really enjoyed that one. And then you also saw Blinded by the Night. Light.
Yeah, Blinded by the Light. So this is, it's a period piece set in the 80s. There is a Pakistani 16-year-old who's in Luton, England. And he wants to be a writer. He ends up discovering Bruce Springsteen's music, and that takes him to places that his family doesn't expect, and neither does his friends. So this is the kind of thing, if you are a Springsteen fan, it's for you. It's sweet.
We also capped off the evening with Official Secrets. By Galvin Hood. Now, this is from the Brits, and it is a British perspective of what happened when they unearthed the fact that the U.S. and Great Britain, basically what happened is they struck a deal saying that they were going to gather intelligence illegally to I'm just going to say it, to blackmail some UN delegates, blackmail them into voting to begin and start the Iraq war and to take Saddam out. Now, this was deemed an illegal war at one point in history. And the question is, who's going to warn the people of Great Britain that this is happening? Well, enter in Keira Knightley's character. Yeah. And she does just that. She whistleblows on it. Mm-hmm. And it has dire consequences. Or does it? It does on one hand because of the war, maybe. Mm-hmm. But does it have dire consequences for her family?
Exactly.
And you'll have to find out a little bit more about that as we release it. Listen, folks, for me, this Official Secrets is one of the stronger, if not one of the strongest pieces that we've seen so far here at Sundance. It is an all-around political thriller that left me very satisfied.
Top 2. This and The Farewell. You said it, cousin.
Hey, well, listen, we'll be right back, and we're going to conclude our Sundance coverage. Okay, we're back at it. Now, we reviewed all the movies that we've seen, and there's a couple. I think we're going to talk a little bit about Clemency when it comes out. Yes. A little more about Premature when it comes out, so you have to wait for those. But now, I just wanted to exchange with you, critic. How was your Sundance 2019?
It worked really well for me. Let me tell y'all something, though. You got to know how to navigate Sundance Film Festival. Absolutely. It is a monster. This is our 3rd year, so we're pros now. That really helps. We talked about the movies we really enjoyed, maybe some not so much. But overall, I don't think there was a dud in what we chose to see.
No, but we chose to see it.
That's the point. You got to be savvy with what you're choosing. So far, so good. We only have 1 or 2 movies left.
As of taping.
I'm happy.
I'm very happy, too. We do have to shout out that there were some amazing events that we were able to attend. Not only me, but we had a team here this year. Of course, the producer was there. Yay, along team. With, we had a digital marketing intern with us this year. It was absolutely amazing. We have to shout out Macro for yet again giving us Macro for giving us amazing, excellent programming. We got to see Jada Pinkett talk about the Red Table with Macro. We also got to hear from Angela Rye of her viewpoints on social justice and what that looks like. Shea Moisture's founder and the current owner of Essence was there to share with us his vision that he has for new and more broad programming for women, not only just Black women or women of color, but women of all stages. It was really a well-done, well-oiled event. We also have to shout out the Black House was there giving us more teasers with BET's programming, along with Paramount TV's programming. And then, of course, there were other organizations there as well. Fly Lounge, we shout out to. DirecTV had a lot of great programming, as well as the programming that Sundance TV does. All those panels, everything you can find on our website, as well as our social media. We had great coverage this year, critic. Yeah. In bringing in a diverse, not just movies, but also what actually happened at Sundance. Mm-hmm. And so we leave you with this. We encourage you listeners, listen, we do this for you. We leave our comfortable, wonderful homes, fly out into the middle of this beautiful country with these beautiful people, and spend 6 days just intently doing this so that we can give you the best advantage possible when it comes to sifting through all the content that you have to sift through on a daily basis. So what we ask is, if you have any questions for us, if you have any comments, if you are curious about Sundance, please visit us at whywatchthat.com. You can also go to our social media platforms, Facebook page at Why Watch That, as well as our IG page, which has a slew of information that you can kind of dive through to see if this is something for you. If you're a lover of movies, if you're a lover of
the celebration of movies, maybe you can come out and visit us. Maybe we'll have you out. You got to pay for your way and pay for your lodge.
Now, see?
But we'd love to connect with you on that level. So from us to you, 2019 Sundance coverage is certainly not over. We will have more information for you, but we will sign out here and said, hey, Sundance, I see you, girl.
Ooh. Ooh. Work it. Thanks for listening. For additional resources, visit whywatchthat.com.
Good idea, and we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and leave comments, feedback, and you can rate us on iTunes.
We'll see you next week.
See you.